3 sentences for a man to spend 500 million for me. Is my husband here? I've got a bag on my look. The one in your first love. I found a bloody novel to read, but I didn't expect this novel to be so attractive to me, and it sucked me into the book. That's right, I'm wearing a book, but I've read a little bit of this book. I haven't finished reading it at all. How can you let me live without God's perspective in the future? Lying bored on the gorgeous big bed, my mind was full of the sentence. I woke up from the big bed of 500 square meters in the morning. According to the book, I am the eldest lady of the Barry family, and I am married to Leonard Hagoy in a business marriage. And Leonard Hagoy had a first love, Beatrice. The Beatrice family is no more business giant than the Barry family and the Hagoy family, just medium. So the Hagoy family has always disagreed. I hadn't seen Leonard Hagoy for a month of marriage, except on the day of the wedding. But it doesn't matter. The 3 happy events in life. The rich and beautiful husband doesn't go home. Just as I was happy about it, Leonard Hagoy returned. Remember to be punctual for tomorrow's family dinner. I have something to announce. Yes, tomorrow is when you bring your first love home to divorce me. Okay, got it, I said lightly. I don't have a good impression of this male protagonist. Don't marry if you don't like it. Swear to resist. What is the score now? Leonard Hagoy frowned, not expecting me to answer his words so calmly. It's no wonder that the heroine used to be a little low in order to please him, and he was not used to ignoring him suddenly. In the future, I must let him get used to it. Family banquet. You still have to take care of yourself. Go shopping. Good guy. Just finished shopping and was about to buy himself a bag. I happened to see Leonard Hagoy shopping with Beatrice. Accidents always come so suddenly. I pulled out my phone and called Leonard Hagoy, husband. Shay. Leonard Hagoy's tone was extremely impatient. But that's okay. I'm going to get rid of you anyway. I want to buy a bag. You buy it yourself. I want the one in your first love's hand. I just walked up to them when I finished speaking. Beatrice smiled when she saw me. Thera Barry, long time no see. I didn't speak. Too lazy to talk to her. And second, to wait for Leonard Hagoy's next words. Divorce, 100 million, is worthy of being a domineering president? And people don't talk much. I looked at Leonard Hagoy angrily, with a stubborn look on my face. What are you talking about? 500 million, not a penny less. Okay. Beatrice was dumbfounded, laughing to death. 500 million a sentence a month. This wave of my blood earns. That's it. Seeing that you're so happy, I'll give you 30 million. Don't regret it. Don't look for me. Protect your Beatrice. Who knows if this male protagonist will tear my cornea and ask for my kidney because of his first love. After listening to my words, the 2 people on the other side scoffed. 5th uncle. I followed Leonard Hagoy's gaze. Mandel Hagoy, Leonard Hagoy's 5th uncle, the top diamond king in City A. At the age of 18, he was able to turn the tide in the business circle of City A, and now he has obtained most of the shares of the Hagoy family. So it can be said that Mandel Hagoy is the person in charge of the Hagoy family. I saw that he was dressed in a well-cut black suit, which set off his slender and well-proportioned figure. His eyebrows were cold, and he glanced at the 3 of us with an indifferent expression, and nodded. TSK. It's too superficial to say handsome. I want to call my husband directly. Of course I didn't say it. Thera Barry, remember what you said? 500 million. Sign a divorce agreement. Looking at Mandel Hagoy walking away, I couldn't take my eyes back for a long time. Just casually replied to Leonard Hagoy, got it. After speaking, I hurried away without waiting for his answer. I was really afraid that I would stay for a second longer and couldn't help but ask Mandel Hagoy's wishet. Back at Leonard Hagoy's villa, I quickly packed my things and packed up to Thera Barry's cottage. At the door of Hagoy's house, I didn't see Leonard Hagoy, but Beatrice came first. Leonard Hagoy still has some things to do. My sister doesn't mind. Right. I don't mind. I don't mind if you 2 come together. If I hadn't signed a divorce agreement, I wouldn't have used this family dinner. How can my sister say that? Leonard Hagoe just loves me too much. Beatrice covered her mouth and chuckled, wearing a white dress that smelled of first love. Yes, yes, I replied perfunctorily. Suddenly, Beatrice put away her smile and sat on the ground. Her face was panicked, and her eyes were slightly red. Sister, how can you do this? Oh, it's time to get into the show, right? Ha ha ha. People in their 20s can still fall on their own. Leonard Hagoe ran up to Beatrice and looked at me angrily. Theraberry, this is not a matter of touching porcelain. There is surveillance at the gate of your house. Go and see for yourself. I pouted. Beatrice looked embarrassed and tugged at Leonard Hagoe's sleeve as if I was going to eat her. TSK. This acting is a little too embarrassing. Won't you give her a hand? Leonard Hagoe was going mad. No, I don't have morals. I knew she was going to touch the porcelain and I went to help her. Do you think I look like a good person? Not only do I have no morality, I don't have the quality, but the dog on the side of the street barks at me, and I have to go up and kick it twice. After saying that, I walked away, not giving the two of them a chance to refute me at all. She could tell that I was sarcastic that the two of them were barking, but Leonard Hagoe didn't catch up and continued to go crazy. I went into his house with my front foot, and Mandel Hagoe followed with my back foot. You're funny. I turned to look at Mandel Hagoe. Do you mean my soul is interesting, or my skin is interesting? Mandel Hagoe chuckled and didn't answer, striding towards the main hall. In the original book, Hage's parents were lukewarm to the original owner. Firstly, because although the Berry family was the leader of the jewelry industry, it was not helpful to the Hagoe family and the technology industry. And secondly, it was simply because of Thera, Berry being too small and low leads to being looked down upon. When I saw his parents, I still pretended to be well behaved. Dad, Mom. His parents nodded and didn't speak. The Hagoe father's generation also sat, and didn't care about me. After the salute, he sat silently in the corner and waited for Leonard Hagoe to come in and announce the divorce. As soon as I sat down, I saw Beatrice walking towards Leonard Hagoe. The Hagoe family knew Beatrice, and the three of us were all college classmates before, and Leonard Hagoe and Beatrice were a good match in college. And the original owner had always had a crush on Leonard Hagoe. Received no response. His parents were a little annoyed when they saw their actions, and although they didn't like me as a daughter-in-law, Leonard Hagoe's behavior made them lose face. Beatrice greeted his parents in a down-to-earth manner. Mr. Hagoe didn't say a word, and Mrs. Hagoe said a few perfunctory words. Leonard Hagoe looked at his parents' cold attitude, and his face was a little ugly. I smacked my lips. I was about to announce my divorce, and I was still a little excited. Mom and Dad, I brought Beatrice here today to make an announcement. It's coming. It's coming. What should I do if I can't cry? There are no onions. Urgent. Online. Etc. I'm going to divorce Theraberry and marry Beatrice. No, his parents said in unison. Although they didn't like me as a daughter-in-law, they also looked down on the Beatrice family, and felt that the Beatrice family was a small family. No one is worthy of my son. I'm not asking for your opinion. I love Beatrice. I only recognize her as a wife in this life. Looking at Leonard Hagoe's desperate look, I was heartbroken on the surface, but I really wanted to applaud him in my heart, and I said it so well. You must always be together. Leonard Hagoe, sit down and discuss slowly. Theraberry has only been in the door for a month. Aren't you embarrassing us like this? Mr. Hagoe said slowly. Beatrice suddenly stepped forward with tears in her beautiful eyes. Uncle and uncle, don't be angry with Leonard Hagoe. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have come. His parents turned their faces away and didn't speak, and Leonard Hagoe's face was extremely pale. Beatrice with the fragrance of tea, saying that she shouldn't come but didn't look like she was leaving. I held back for a long time, and couldn't squeeze out a single tear. I'm such a failure. And I'll admit I'm still not as good as her when it comes to acting. Seeing that the atmosphere had reached 0 o'clock, I had no choice but to squeeze out a smile with red eyes and say, Mom and Dad, don't be angry. Leonard Hagoy doesn't like me. I'm willing to let go. Hearing what I said, his parents' faces looked a little better. Leonard Hagoy was surprised to see that I had no objection. I'll go first, so I won't disturb Evrion's interest. I nodded apologetically and walked out with heavy steps. Out of his house, my steps were brisk, humming a little song and walking towards my little sports car. It's a good show. Hearing a joking remark, I turned my head and saw Mandel Hagoy. Although I know that he is handsome, I will still be amazed every time I see him. Fifth Uncle Ada Weshit, I'll let you watch the play every day. Is that the only reason? Mandel Hagoy raised his eyebrows, dressed in a black suit, standing not far from me, and the feeling of Sven scum came to his face. A man who can breathe is a real plus. Mandel Hagoy chuckled. I still added Mandel Hagoy's Weshit, and I guess he was defeated by my beauty. After receiving the divorce certificate, I quickly sent a Weshit message to Mandel Hagoy. A divorced young woman with all kinds of charms invites you to have supper online. Are you coming, baby? After waiting for a while, I didn't wait for Mandel Hagoy's Weshit, but waited for Barry's parents' phone number. Daughter, why don't you discuss such a big matter as divorce with your family? Did he Leonard Hagoy bully you? Tell your parents what grievances you have suffered. Mom and Dad are looking for this little bunny. Senior Barry was so agitated that I suspected he was going to follow the telephone line and press Leonard Hagoy to the ground and pound him. Don't. I divorced him mainly because of marriage. Married far away means that my parents knew about my divorce in the afternoon, and my father's slap in the evening had not yet landed on Leonard Hagoy's face. In the end, I stopped this from happening on the grounds that the Barry family and the Hagoy family would still be married. As for being chased by Barry's parents and asking who to marry Barry's family, I replied very godly, the secret of heaven must not be revealed. Probably because Barry's parents felt that they couldn't get over it. They went to Hagoy's house the next day to ask for an explanation. On the same day, I received a Weshit message from Mandel Hagoy. I have time to go out for supper. I saw it, but I just wouldn't go back. Hey, people just want to make others unhappy if they are unhappy. Took a photo of himself in the car and sent it to the circle of friends. If you don't come back, you're running a taxi. Within 3 minutes, Mandel Hagoy's call came. Come out at night for supper. No, I'm busy running a taxi. You're short on money. Life lies in sports, and wealthy abandoned women no longer have the capital to be salted fish at home. I've been lying at home for a few days now. Mandel Hagoy hung up the phone, and soon I received a transfer text message. Man, it's so damn sweet. Mandel Hagoy drove me to a food stall in a sports car. It's outrageous. The dignified head of the Hagoy family took me to eat at a food stall. I waited boredly for Mandel Hagoy, who went to the park, ready to slaughter him. A bear kid made a big deal at a food stall and ran up to me and said, Auntie, you're so fat. It's that you're too small. You see, your head isn't as big as my ass, and you'll probably die if I sit down. The bear kid ran back to his mother crying. Mandel Hagoy walked up to me and sat down at some point. You're a bully, even a child. Can this be called bullying a child? It's called letting him know in advance about the beatings of society. I pursed my lips, waved my fist and continued, if you don't come again, I'll be running out of fingernails. After supper, Mandel Hagoy took me for a walk and ate by the way. As soon as I walked to the commercial street, and women, of course, like to go shopping. I pulled Mandel Hagoy to shop for clothes and shoes, and then for shoes and bags. When I was so tired that I couldn't walk, I saw a man pulling a woman out, and as he walked, he said, Do you know why women used to wrap their little feet in ancient times? It's for fear that you women will lose. Can I bear this? I stood up suddenly. Do you know why women don't wrap their little feet now? Because the foot traps are used to wrap the cerebellum of men like you. The man came up angrily and raised his hand to give me a slap. A slender hand gripped his arm. Mandel Hagoy stood up a head above the man, only to see that his cold and narrow eyes were only a casual glance, and the person under the shadow of his figure trembled, and fled without daring to say a word. Handsome, it's so handsome. Mandel Hagay's thin lips pursed slightly, and there was some anger on his angular face. You're too bold. What if I'm not there? Aren't you here? My husband is so handsome. You are my god. I looked at Mandel Hagoy with starry eyes. What do you call me? Fifth uncle. Afraid that Mandel Hagoy would be angry, I had to honestly pretend to be quail. In the end, Mandel Hagoy tricked me into the company on the grounds that I was okay and looking for a class. But I always felt that he had a conspiracy. Sure enough, the next day in the elevator was a really good show, and I proposed. This time the Oscar gave me a nomination. When I followed Mandel Hagoy into the president's elevator, I was followed by a person. This woman was dressed so sexy that I almost had a nosebleed. First of all, I'm not a lesbian. Mandel Haggaiwho is this young lady. Thanks. I'm really not a lesbian. I can't understand how a person with the appearance of a royal sister can speak with such a pinched voice. I climbed the Mandel Hagoy with both hands, glanced at the woman defiantly. Husband Tilda, who is this? Why don't you introduce me? I was blown away by my acting skills. Jenny. If you want to introduce you, you can just say a name. Right. Jenny's face turned red with embarrassment when she heard this. Husband, whispered to Mandel Hagoy. Everyone said that he was single, and how he had a wife. Husband Tilda, when is our wedding date? 3 months later. Mandel Hagoy leaned down and put his arms around my waist. The warm breath sprayed all over my face. Your parents said that. It was a little hot, and my face was so hot. Jenny saw us so ambiguous, and finally couldn't stand it, and ran out crying the moment the elevator door opened. Thera Berry, what are you doing? I turned my head to see Leonard Hagoy with an angry face. Inexplicable. I'm all divorced. You don't care what I'm doing. The picture at the moment is indeed a little too ambiguous, and most of me am hanging on Mandel Hagoy. Mandel Hagoy calmly straightened his suit, glanced at Leonard Hagoy and walked towards the office. Are you angry with me, with my fifth uncle? Where did the peacock come from so noisy? Can you give me a little bit of your confidence? The rolls of my eyes are almost rolling to the sky. I don't understand how anyone is so confident. What do you like about him? Leonard Hagoy said, gritting the back socket. It starts with good looks, and is loyal to talent. You know him well. What talent are you loyal to him? True to his talent for driving a Ferrari single-handedly. Leonard Hagoy's face darkened and blackened, and he couldn't hold back a word for a long time. Why don't you speak? Do you want me to enroll you in a sign language class? Someday, you'll meet girls who are gentler and more beautiful than me, but she must not have been able to eat, drink, or... It turns out that people really can't pretend to be too forced, and the next second I'm sitting on the ground with my feet on my feet. Leonard Hagoy was quite conscientious and did not go directly, but confirmed that I could not walk and scooped me up. The moment Leonard Hagoy picked me up, I saw Mandel Hagoy. There was no expression on his face, and his dark eyes were like a pool of deep water, and he couldn't see emotion. For no reason, I panicked, and I didn't know whether I was afraid that Mandel Hagoy would misunderstand, or that he would not misunderstand. I went to the hospital for a checkup, but I was glad that it was just a broken foot. On the first day of work, I missed work because of a broken foot, and I really had mine. God assisted Barry's parents when they came to see me in the hospital, and I was thinking about how to explain it to Mandel Hagoy. Daughter, although Mandel Hagoy is older, only in his 30s, he is more reliable than Leonard Hagoy. My parents may be afraid that I don't want to, so when they come to see me, They persuade me. Yes, I do. I thought so, but I didn't say, I'll think about it again. As soon as we said yes, he agreed. Is it possible to delay the war? After lying in the hospital for almost 3 days, Mandel Hagoy never looked for me again, or came to see me, except for asking me, is it serious? It's reliable. Men are liars. I tried to explain to Mandel Hagoy on Weshit, but he replied that I knew, and then there was no more. I tried to send him another Weshit message. I just accidentally hit my head. I have amnesia. Who is my boyfriend? I can't be so beautiful without a partner, right? Mandel Hagoy still doesn't reply to messages, and I'm a little discouraged. Just as I was worrying, Leonard Hagoy came again. You can't ask me to confinement his first love, right? Beatrice is blind and tears my cornea. Or do you want mine with a broken kidney? Be a person. Are you feeling better? It's okay, that's it. After a moment's silence, Leonard Hagoy said, you've changed. I'm your dad, ever changing. After saying that, I quickly shrunk into the quilt. I was afraid that he would kill me. Suddenly, a hand pulled my quilt open, and as soon as my eyes opened, I saw Mandel Hagoy. Can't you see that you want to be my brother? How? Ha ha ha. I was arguing with Mandel Hagoy, afraid that he would be even more mistaken when he saw Leonard Hagoy. His eyes glanced around and he didn't see Leonard Hagoy, and he breathed a sigh of relief. The other day there was a project that was very busy, and I couldn't be free to see you. When I looked up and saw him peeling an apple, I pretended to be aggrieved and didn't answer. As a result, the person finished peeling the apple and stuffed it directly into his mouth. Don't be angry. Don't be angry. Being angry is leaving room for the devil. Don't be angry. Don't be angry. It's up to me to be angry. I meditated in my heart, seeing that I didn't speak. Mandel Hagoy turned his head to look at me. As the sun poured down, Mandel Hagoy, who had always been oppressive, looked exceptionally warm at the moment. That's nice. I'm such a person who has no resistance to handsome guys. Mandel Hagoy sat down for a while, and told me to come back when I was free. Dog man, not a word nice. When Mandel Hagoy was gone, I pulled out my phone to watch the news, and saw that the topic of my relationship with Hagoy's uncle and nephew was dominating the headlines. Or guess that I'm back together with Leonard Hagoy. Or guess I'm stepping on 2 boats. Some even say that Mandel Hagoy is old. How is this possible? He is only in his early 30s, and these people don't understand the charm of mature men. The old man is good. The old man has little subsistence, and I can still find the old man when he dies. Hey, that's it. By the time I was lying in bed and getting moldy, Beatrice came. A long white dress fluttered in the wind, like a small white flower swaying in the wind. TSK. It's so unpitiable. Are you satisfied? I looked at Beatrice in confusion, and in her eyes I seemed to be saying to her, yes. What are you going to do? Really thanks. She was even more angry, and said with red eyes, Thera Berry, Leonard Hagoy is mine. You can't take it. Aha. Yes, yes. You two must be fine. Don't bother me with my 5th uncle in a relationship. Beatrice ran away crying. She was probably too touched to expect me to bless them so magnanimously. In the middle of the night, I received a Weshit message from Leonard Hagoy, apologizing for Beatrice. Ignoring his apology, I asked, why are you still staying up late? This is not good for your health, and you will be punished for transferring me 500, and you will not be allowed to do this again next time. Leonard Hagoy replied to me with emotion, I didn't expect you to care about me. Are you okay? Then I transferred 20,000 yuan, and I backhanded him to teach him to experience the darkness of society. I managed to stay out of the hospital, and Mandel Hagoy didn't come to see me. As the saying goes, women chase men. I choose to take the initiative. When I saw a black coat on the way to the street, I thought it was made for Mandel Hagoy at first glance. I sent him a WeChat message, and said that I would go to the company to see him. He only replied with a, yes, very well, man, your coldness attracts me. Most of the people have known me since the last time Mandel Hagoy took me to the company, and I got to his office door without any problems. As soon as I walked to the door, I heard the voice of Jenny from last time. I got goosebumps all over the place. My hand was raised and lowered, not knowing if I had arrived at the right time. What if I push the door in and see something inappropriate? Just as I was hesitating, the door suddenly opened. Jenny's face turned crimson at first glance, but Mandel Hagoy sat indifferently in his chair. Am I a little out of place? Nope. Husband, I bought you a trench coat. Can you try it? Faced with the ignorance of Mandel Hagoy and me, Jenny awkwardly withdrew. I slowly took out my trench coat and handed it to Mandel Hagoy, who looked at me and didn't answer. Have you decided to marry me? Or else, I don't think you're ready. After speaking, he took the trench coat and had no intention of trying. Why am I not ready? With your face and your body, I wake up laughing in my dreams. You could actually call me that day. Don't bother Leonard Hagoy. If you're jealous, just say okay. No wonder you didn't come to see me when I was hospitalized. Hey, a man is a teenager until he dies. Knowing what was going on, I ate this vinegar too. Next time, definitely. When I came out of the company, it was almost dark. Suddenly, I felt a pain in my brain, and as soon as my eyes went dark, I fainted. Really thanks. It's so bloody. I may have been kidnapped. When I opened my eyes again, on the deck, Beatrice was looking at me with contempt, surrounded by a number of strong men. If it weren't for the kidnapping, the salty sea breeze would be quite pleasant now. You've been kidnapped. And this kidnapper. Seeing that I didn't speak, Beatrice was angry. I said you were kidnapped. Heh. Do you want me to call for help? If it weren't for the hands tied, I would have really wanted to pluck out my ears to show that I wasn't deaf. Why are you still pestering Leonard Hagoy when you're all divorced? Don't you two have folds in your cerebral cortex? When did I pester him? It's all because of you. Because you, Hagoy, won't let me in. Beatrice's pretty eyes were full of tears as she spoke, and her long and silky hair was a little messy by the wind. What a crazy critic of beauty. The Hagoy family won't let you in, so you're looking for the Hagoy house. Why are you tying me up? Beatrice straightened her hair and went back to her little white flower, as if nothing had happened just now. I won't touch you. I'll let you go as long as the Hagoy family agrees to let me in. Night falls without a single star in the sky. It was as if the ship was in the mouth of a demon, and there was nothing around the ship but that. I knew Beatrice wouldn't dare touch me. Otherwise, the Hagoy family would not let her in. The Barry family would not let her go, and the Beatrice family might have fallen. However, her move was too bad, and the more she did this, the more she failed to achieve her goal. If she continues to be a little low at Hagoy's house, it will be a matter of time before Leonard Hagoy enters the door with Leonard Hagoy's affection for her. And she is still too anxious after all. I closed my eyes and rested for a while, and when I opened them again, it was already dawn. I don't know how Beatrice negotiated with the Hagoy family. I felt a little uncomfortable after a night of not getting a drop of water. I shouted at a strong man, "Can you give me some water?" Beatrice said hello, but they didn't do anything to me, and tried to meet my requirements. I don't know how long it took, but listening to the waves on the beach crashing tirelessly on the beach, I felt like my spirit was in a trance. In a trance, I felt like I saw Mandel Hagoy, Thera Barry. I saw Mandel Hagoy running towards me, but I felt so tired that I couldn't lift my eyelids. When I woke up again, I was already in the hospital. Mandel Hagoy smiled at me when he saw that I was awake. You look so good when you smile. You still have the energy to talk to me. It seems that you are in good shape. Mandel Hagoy reached out and rubbed my head. I always thought I only thought you were interesting. When your parents first asked me to marry you, I only thought about marrying anyone. I saw that he didn't speak, and he paused and said, it wasn't until you disappeared that I realized I liked you more than I thought I would. So, will you marry me? Who proposed in the hospital room, and didn't even have a diamond ring? I pouted. When you're ready, let's buy as many as you like. Mandel Hagoe went on to talk about Beatrice. After you divorced Leonard Hagoe, the Hagoe family has not allowed her to enter the door, and the Beatrice family has been urging her to miss the Leonard Hagoe tree. She may be a little insane. I can see she's crazy. I tilted my head and asked him again, do you think I'm going to get a rabies vaccine? I'm afraid she'll bite me in a hurry. Mandel Hagoe chuckled. She's already in prison. Thank you, Uncle Police. It's December, and it's Christmas in a few days. The last time Mandel Hagoe said that he would take me to buy a diamond ring, he was gone. Men are big liars. I took out my phone and sent a WeChat message to Mandel Hagoe. I'm a liar. I want a kiss from the voice, and if I'm willing to be deceived, please give me a kiss and buy yourself a lesson. Don't ask me why others cheat money. I cheat my relatives, because I'm a little hooligan. Mandel Hagoe replied to my WeChat, come out at night, I'll pick you up. At night, I waited for Mandel Hagoe at the door of the villa. In winter, the air is dry and cold, with light snow floating in the air, and the branches without leaves are slightly depressed, but the yellow light gives people a hint of warmth. In the distance, Mandel Hagoe walked towards me, in the same black trench coat I bought. The tall figure supports this trench coat like a model on the catwalk. It's worthy of my favorite clothes. He is worthy of the man I fancied. In the private room of the restaurant, I don't know whether intentionally or unintentionally, roses are everywhere. Mandel Hagoe cut the steak and motioned with his eyes for me to eat the fruit first. Then I took a bite of the diamond ring. Don't ask me why I knew it was a diamond ring. This routine is too cheesy. I spit out the diamond ring, and the diamond was so big that I wanted to curse. Help! My eyes are flashing blind. I'm in a showdown. I love diamond rings. Not bad at all. I watched as Mandel Hagoe walked towards me, and got down on one knee. Compared with him in formal clothes, the trench coat looks younger. Will you marry me? My heart was beating so fast that it felt like it was about to burst out. Looking at his serious appearance, starry eyebrows and sword eyes, I couldn't speak. I don't know if it's because I'm too nervous, or I'm struggling with the ending of the book, although I don't know how it ends, whether the plot develops according to the book. But at the moment I really want to agree to Mandel Hagoe's marriage proposal. Seeing that I didn't speak for a long time, Mandel Hagoe frowned. The wedding will take place as scheduled in half a month. I replied softly. Are you still not ready to marry me? It's not. I'm just too nervous. Mandel Hagoe still frowned, and didn't speak. Just put the ring on my ring finger. After a walk after dinner, Mandel Hagoe took me to the door of the villa, which by this time was already a little snowy. In the warm yellow light, Mandel Hagoe's profile is illuminated, with clear and angular outlines. Although he wears a black trench coat, it is more subdued. I looked at him, my face burning slightly. Mandel Hagoe leaned down and lifted the hair from my ear, the warm breath spraying all over my face. Don't you want to kiss? As he spoke, Mandel Hagoe's lips came up, but the dragonfly touches the water, and the soft touch makes me nervous and shy. Mandel Hagoe rubbed my hair and said dotingly, my little rascal. I blushed and slipped into Mandel Hagoe's arms, smelling the crisp smell on his body. He suddenly felt a sense of relief. Mandel Hagoe touched my soft hair and sighed, Thera Berry, I like you, whether you want to marry me or not. Mandel Hagoe, I like you too, I whispered. I really just forgot to answer you because I was too nervous. Half a month later, Hagoe's Berry family held a grand wedding as scheduled. Seeing the red faces of the parents, I knew that they were very satisfied with the wedding. After the wedding, I was so excited that I was beaten up and dragged Mandel Hagoy around for my honeymoon. It's said that it's a honeymoon, but I've been playing outside for a long time, and I'm also very distressed to watch Mandel Hagoy rely on video to hold meetings remotely every day to handle work. Shall we go back? Okay. Mandel Hagoy rubbed my head, and I couldn't take my eyes off it, with a doting smile on his face. On the first day I returned home, I vomited and had diarrhea, and the family doctor Mandel Hagoy called and told him that I was pregnant. At night, lying in bed to discuss with Mandel Hagoy what the child's name was, I almost got into a fight. Of course, I hit him when I was grumpy. What's that called? I kept my head down and swiped the mukbang on my phone, not having time to glance at Mandel Hagoy. Let him think for himself later. It's confirmed. It's my father. On the day of the birth, Mandel Hagoy was more nervous than me, holding my hand and refusing to let go. It's not that I'm not impressed. It's mainly that holding my right hand makes it inconvenient for me to eat. In the end, because he was too nervous, he was refused to accompany the birth by the doctor and died of laughter. 3 years later, I'm going to pick up Morgan Hagoy from school in the afternoon, and I have to dress up nicely so that people will ask me, are you Morgan Hagoy's sister? Thank you for the invitation. And a smile has bloomed on your face. If I had known that I would be so embarrassed that day, I wouldn't have dressed up like a fancy one. I should be wearing a motorcycle helmet so people don't see who I am. As soon as I walked to the entrance of the kindergarten, I saw Morgan Hagoy molesting a female classmate. The little girl's delicate little face was full of disgust, and she glanced coldly at Morgan Hagoy, and sat down on the edge of the flower bed with her hands in her hands. Morgan Hagoy wasn't annoyed either, and leaned over with a smile. I picked a trumpet flower from the flower bed, and held it to the little girl like a treasure. Oh, this is for you, and when you grow up, you can exchange this trumpet flower with me for a big diamond ring. I'm guaranteed to be older than the one my dad gave to my mom. I sent a wish-it message to Mandel Hagoy. If you lose your job in the future, go and set up a pancake stand with your son. I think you're a good fit, Mandel Hagoy. If nothing else, I won't be unemployed for decades to come. The son who inherits his father's business is my good son. Before I could put my phone down, I was spotted by Morgan Hagoy. Mommy, Mommy, come here. Morgan Hagoy ran over with excitement on his face, and pulled me to show the little girl the ring on my hand. Help me. Is it too late for me to disown the son now? Yetta Kingsley, look, I'll buy you a diamond ring bigger than my mother's one in the future. The little girl blushed and called Auntie softly. I also blushed in embarrassment and agreed. Yetta Kingsley, come here. The voice was so familiar. I followed it. Jenny. Apparently, Jenny saw me too. She wasn't embarrassed, and smiled at me. This is my daughter, Yetta Kingsley. I nodded, and also pulled Morgan Hagoy and said, Mandel Hagoy's son, Morgan Hagoy. Actually, those times were arranged by Mandel Hagoy, and I was married a long time ago. What a black-bellied Mandel Hagoy deceived me. Seeing that I was silent, she added, on the day you broke your foot, Mandel Hagoy was in a hurry, but unfortunately you asked Leonard Hagoy to take you to the hospital. Don't say it. I'll leave first if it's okay. If I stay any longer, I'll be embarrassed to death. The next day I took Mandel Hagoy with me to pick up Morgan Hagoy. Yetta Kingsley, you touch. Morgan Hagoy lifted the corner of his coat and handed it to the little girl. Are you touching me to be your boyfriend's fodder? I poked Mandel Hagoy in the arm, glared at him and asked, you were a little rascal when you were a kid, aren't you our little rascal? After saying that, his narrow eyes narrowed slightly, and he looked down at me, thinking of that wish-it message. I blushed for a while. I decided to have the butler pick up Morgan Hagoy on the third day. The kindergarten floor has been turned over by my toes, and can be used to grow vegetables. Mom, my girlfriend was seen by the teacher in kindergarten today. The teacher told you to go to kindergarten tomorrow. I'm not your mother. You picked it up in the garbage heap at the train station. You don't like to be clean. How do you go to the garbage heap? Is it that Daddy won't give you food? I spread my hands and said, I gave you the bill. Mom, you're not good at lying. Morgan Hagoi looked at me, with a serious look on his face. I mysteriously approached Morgan Hagoi. Actually, you're a little cabbage. You grew it by me. Morgan Hagoi cried and rushed to the garden to pick up a pile of dirt, crying and calling for his mother to the soil. Mandel Hagoi came back and saw the scene, frowning and scooping up Morgan Hagoi. Morgan Hagoi told him with a handful of snot and tears that I said he grew in a cabbage field. Your mother picked it up at the pancake stand. Morgan Hagoi cried even harder, clamoring to go to the pancake stand to find his parents. Mandel Hagoi, the dog man, who holds a grudge. Thera Berry, 25 years old, married, does not have a complicated mother-in-law relationship. The son already has a partner, although there is a disagreement with this future daughter-in-law, and the future is promising. Extra. On the day of the wedding, Leonard Hagoi came to the scene with a scruffy beard and dragged his tired body, and I remembered that the original owner had been wrong for love. Would the original owner be happy or sad to see Leonard Hagoi now? I went to the prison to see Beatrice the day after we got married. It's really unlucky, but I really want to stimulate her. The haggard Beatrice in the window was like a lost dog, and there was no trace of blood on her pale face. You're here. Beatrice smiled self-deprecatingly. I didn't expect you to be the first person to see me after I went to prison. I didn't speak, but stroked the diamond ring on my left hand. Beatrice had apparently seen it too, biting her lip, her eyes flashing with a hint of fierceness, staring at me deadly. You're married to Mandel Hagoi. Does it matter with Leonard Hagoi or Mandel Hagoi? The important thing is that the Hagoi family always has my place, and you can't do it in your life. Beatrice suddenly smiled. The Beatrice family has gone to great lengths to get me into contact with Leonard Hagoi in their lives, and I have gone to great lengths to marry into the Hagoi family. In the end, the chicken and the egg will make you a wedding dress. What do you mean to make me a wedding dress? I was the one who was originally married to Leonard Hagoi. I smoothed my hair, calmed my mood a bit, and said to her again with half-squinted eyes, I'm relieved to see that you're not doing well. As I left, I faintly heard Beatrice's frantic screams. I have an indescribable feeling in my heart. I don't know if it's for the original owner, or for me who was kidnapped in those days. The end.